Welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's jump right in, because today we are exploring something absolutely profound. We're stepping away from the abstract theories and textbook case studies to look at a deeply moving, 100% true life story. It's about a real family navigating the everyday realities of neurodivergence. This is the actual lived experience of a boy named Rayaan and his parents. It's a continuous narrative that's really going to challenge how we define communication, connection, and resilience. By the end of this, I promise you, you're going to have a completely new perspective on what it means to truly listen.
So, our story begins in a hospital room in December of 2013, and the timing here? It's incredible. See, Ryaan's father was devastated at the time. He'd been stuck on a flight from the US and tragically missed his own father's last moments. But then, exactly 1 year to the day after his grandfather passed away, baby Rayaan was born. For his grieving dad bursting through those hospital doors, this wasn't just biology, It genuinely felt like a miraculous, intentional gift from the universe. It was this moment of pure, overwhelming joy that really set the stage for an extraordinary life.
Part 1. A star arrives. The early days in the U.S.
At first, life was pretty idyllic. The family was settling into a new country, a fresh start, and Rayaan was this adorable baby who just quietly studied everything around him. But soon, these really subtle differences began to emerge, showing a growing gap in how they experience the world. And this brilliantly illustrates the disconnect. On one side, you've got his dad, waving his hands, desperately trying to get his son to make eye contact, expecting that typical social feedback, right? But on the other side, you have baby Rayaan completely ignoring his father, but utterly and joyfully fascinated by the rotation of a ceiling fan. To his parents, the fan was just, background noise. But to Rayaan, it was a magnificent, captivating piece of the universe.
Part 2. The wedding and diagnosis. The trip to India that changed everything. Fast forward to when Rayaan was about 1.5 years old. The family traveled back to India for a vibrant, chaotic, and incredibly loud family wedding. If you've ever been to one, you know the sensory overload I'm talking about. It was here, surrounded by this huge chorus of well-meaning but, let's be honest, blunt relatives, that the differences became impossible to ignore. People noticed immediately. They'd say things like, "Bite, the child doesn't turn when you call his name. He's in his own world completely." This whole barrage of observations from the extended family just pierced right through the parents' hopeful bubble. It was the exact moment those polite smiles faded and the deep, real-world worry actually set in.
Retreating from all that wedding chaos, we see this unbelievable contrast in their hotel room. The parents are sitting on the bed, just quietly carrying this heavy, terrifying weight of the unknown. They're whispering to each other, desperately hoping he's just a late bloomer, but kind of knowing deep down that something is fundamentally different. Yet, right between them sits Rayaan. Is he worried? Not at all. He's happily spinning a toy wheel, completely at peace, entirely unbothered by the anxieties of the adult world. It's just a stark contrast of parallel tracks, the parents living in this world of fear and Rayaan in his world of absolute insulated joy.
Which brings us to the pivotal moment in a pediatric neurologist's office. The official diagnosis was finally delivered: ADHD and the autism spectrum. The doctor noted that Rayaan was nonverbal, but offered this absolutely crucial piece of wisdom. He said, that doesn't mean he has nothing to say. Now for the parents, getting this medical confirmation literally felt like the ground had violently shifted beneath their feet. The future they had mapped out in their heads vanished in an instant. But, true to form, Rayaan remained completely unbothered. He was just toddling around the doctor's office, patting his dad's knee, his sparkling eyes taking in the lights. To Rayaan, nothing was broken, so absolutely nothing needed fixing.
Part 3. When the storms came. A sequence of unimaginable real-world hardships.
Neurodivergence doesn't just happen in a vacuum, right? It happens while the rest of life keeps hitting you. First, the family started Therapies, diligently building up hope. Then, boom, the global lockdown hits, completely shutting the world down. And just as they thought they'd survive that, unimaginable tragedy struck. Ryaan's mother suffered a sudden, devastating brain stroke that required multiple surgeries. The family's life savings, money they had fiercely protected for Ryaan's therapies and his future, were entirely drained just to keep his mother alive. And then, the final, crushing blow. His father lost his job. In rapid succession, literally everything that could go wrong in the real world did.
We arrive at what is arguably the darkest moment of this true story. Just imagine Rayyaan's father, physically and emotionally bankrupt, sitting exhausted on the floor in the hallway. On one side is the door to his gravely ill wife's room. On the other, his neurodivergent son's room.
He completely breaks down, asking the impossible question, "How do I do this?" And in that moment of total, crushing despair, his nonverbal son slowly walks out, sits right next to him, and simply leans his head on his father's arm. No words, no complex advice, just pure, absolute presence. Rayaan didn't need to speak a single syllable to pull his father back from the edge. His silent comfort was everything.
Part 4. Ryaan's Extraordinary World. Nonverbal does not mean silent.
As the dust slowly settled, his parents began to truly decode Ryaan's universe. So the crucial point is this. We so often mistake a lack of speech for a lack of understanding. But look at these traits. Rayaan could read the emotional temperature of a room perfectly without a single word being spoken. He had absolutely zero tolerance for bad energy. I mean, if a grumpy visitor arrived, he just walked away. He communicated constantly, but he spoke in the frequency of energy, in loud, uninhibited laughter, and in the tilt of his head. While his parents were drowning in the heavy what-ifs of the future and the trauma of the past, Rayaan lived entirely in the present, totally free of grudges and fear. Honestly, despite his severe challenges, he was undeniably the freest person in that entire house.
Part 5. Awareness, Patience, and Love. The Universal Takeaway.
This explainer isn't just about one family. There are thousands of Ryaans out there in the world. They're living in their own extraordinary silent universes, supported by parents who are just bone-tired but still fiercely going. Families that are stretched to their absolute financial and emotional limits but still fiercely loving. This true story gives us 3 simple yet monumentally difficult pillars to lean on. Awareness, actually seeing them for who they truly are, not what they lack. Patience, allowing them to navigate the world on their own timeline. And love, the unconditional kind that sits with you on the floor when you have absolutely nothing left.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to remember this final thought. Some gifts take a whole lifetime to unwrap. Rayaan didn't come with a manual, he came with a message. This analysis is dedicated to every parent and every child navigating the complex, beautiful, and terrifying journey of neurodivergence. It challenges all of us to rethink how we connect with others, so I leave you with this provocative thought. In your own fast-paced, loud, and demanding life, what silent, extraordinary universes are waiting to be understood right in front of you if only you took the time to truly listen?